Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Today, my guest is Amanda Frances. She is a world-renowned thought leader on financial empowerment for women. Through her daily free inspirational content, meditations, and trainings distributed across her social media channels, she empowers women to design lives and businesses that they are wildly obsessed with. She's also the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Rich as Fuck. She offers wildly popular digital courses, is highly engaging on social media, has a podcast called And She Rises. Amanda Frances had humble beginnings, but Amanda Frances Incorporated is now a multimillion-dollar company, global brand with clients and students in 95 countries. No doubt you will be inspired after listening to this episode. Welcome to the show, Amanda. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So impressed with the trajectory of your life. It's really wonderful. I had some friends who introduced me to your work and had been watching you for years. But for those who don't know what you do, can you share your origin story from, your sort of beginnings to being accepted into a PhD program?
Sure. Yeah. So I am from a tiny town outside Tulsa, Oklahoma called Sand Springs. So very humble, modest beginnings. I'm trying to think, how do I get to the PhD part from that? So essentially, I tried a few different paths for how I wanted, my life to go. I knew that I wanted to make money and help people, to pretty clear core values of mine, to make a good living doing something meaningful to me that I loved. So I was on my path. I did the ministry world for a while. I actually, I have 2 Bible school degrees. I went to 2 Bible colleges. I was on the ministry path when I realized that you can't say fuck at church. Actually, when I realized that my gifts and the way I wanted to teach things and share things and present things wasn't, maybe not most welcome, most fitting in the 4 walls of the church, I went to the therapy world. So I got a master's in counseling. I was a play therapist. I got accepted to my dream PhD program, but somewhere along the way, like mid-master's program, I started a life coaching business because I was very antsy to do exactly what I said, help people and make money. And I was like, if I start coaching now, then I can charge for my gifts now and make a difference now. I don't have to wait to get done with this master's program. So started a life coaching business. I began coaching while I finished my master's program, got into my dream PhD program. But by then my coaching practice was really taking off and doing well. I was supporting myself, doing something I loved. And I had the sense that if I took it more online, like if I really dedicated myself to figuring out how I could help more people through the internet with my skills, that I would be very happy going that direction. So I gave up the PhD dream, which was very hard because it felt a little crazy at the time. I was very attached to the idea of being a doctor, but I gave up the PhD dream and focused on my business. And that was 2015, and it's 2021 now, and I own an 8-figure online education empire.
It's amazing. In 95 countries or something insane?
Yeah, we have users in 95 countries, but paid students in 88 countries.
Congratulations. One of the things you mentioned along this way is before the PhD program, you're like, I started my own life coaching business because I figured why not start doing it now and getting paid for my talents. That's a very confident as fuck move to make.
Thanks.
But I want to ask you about that. So what were the stories around money growing up? What was your worldview of money growing up? Positive, negative? I mean, it sounds like it was pretty positive for you to be like, I have no hangups. I'm just going to start a business. So what were you exposed to?
No, I believe money was for other people, for the rich people, for the rich girls in school who had it easy and had, that it wasn't even a discussion at their house. Money was a resource and a tool. I mean, no one was using that language, but that's how they were approaching it. Money was just this thing that was there that was supportive to them. And to me, money was the obstacle and the struggle and the problem and the thing I didn't know how to get past. So when I said to myself, I was always entrepreneurial in a sense, like I was nannying for years and years through undergrad and through my master's, until my life coaching business supported me, I was nannying. And eventually I had this like thought of like, wait, I can make more money working for like 5 families at once, charging like this kind of day rate than having a salary for one family. So I was always like thinking, how do I work less, make more? Or how do I maximize my time better, still use the things I want to do and that I'm good at? Like that was always a little bit going on. And I always desired money, liked money, was interested in money. But when it came down to it, the very first time someone wrote me a check, I think it was like $300. And it was for something like 5 or 6 or I don't know, several weeks of coaching their daughter. She wrote me this $300 check and I cried, not happy tears. I cried like shock and embarrassment and like, who am I to be paid for this thing I love that I know I'm gifted at? Shouldn't I just want to do this out of the generosity of my heart? All the stuff that like good-hearted women often go through when they go to make that pivot for being paid for the thing they love. Like I went through all of it, but I had to overcome it because I don't know, like I deeply sensed that there was nothing wrong with money, that money was a good thing. Money was a thing I could use well. It just wasn't something I was used to yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things, you mentioned about being in ministry and, let's talk about God and faith and money for a minute. I know that's also one of your courses
Thanks.
that you have that's based in that. One of the things I'll go off for a minute here, and I'm sure I'm not religious, but I studied most of my life. I have, philosophy and religion, all of that type of stuff. And I find it fascinating. I guess I'll just start off for everyone listening. I'll define faith. It's just complete trust or confidence in something or something, right? So, like in the Bible, it'll say faith is the assurance of things hoped for, right? The conviction of things not seen. And so this is where we kind of intersect. I see the same issue with faith and confidence as I do with faith and money. And when people talk about confidence, and I know it's similar probably with money and it'll resonate with you here, it's like with confidence, with someone going, oh, well, I was taught not to, talk highly of myself and be humble and all this kind of stuff. It's like, dude, you can be both. Jesus was confident and to some degree humble, right? It's not a contradiction. No one's saying you have to be a cocky, shitty asshole. That's not confidence.
You don't have to be
either.
a bad person just because you think you're good at what you do or whatever.
Right. And that God would want you to be bold and confident and think highly of yourself and have good self-esteem. So there's that difference there. So what have you run into with some of the trips ups where people feel like, because there are some people I'll be like, well, I'm just grateful for whatever's given to me. And that kind of attitude towards
God.
money.
Well, nothing's given to us. I mean, truly, maybe to some degree you could be born into a lot, but like most everything is created and created by us. And God put co-creative power inside of us. So I don't think walking around being like, if God wanted me to have money, he would give it to me makes any sense when we're living on a planet where there are plenty of ways to like creatively make money. Like money is circulating the world all the time. And we are powerful enough and smart enough to figure out how to get some of it to us. That's really all it is. So like from a manifestation perspective, I could go on and on about the energy of money and aligning with money and working on your doubts and your limiting beliefs with money. And like all of that is there. But just from a very practical perspective, like why would it be bad or wrong to allow a resource into your life? Like why would that ever be some kind of like, whatever? It's just money. It's just a thing. And like having it's not a bad thing. Having it's never a bad thing when you're someone who intends to do good with your life, because money is an amplifier. So whoever you are and however you are, money will allow you to be a bit more of that because you'll have a resource on your side furthering your work, whatever your work is.
What are some of the big sort of life fears you once had, maybe in the beginning when you started out and you were like, oh, now this coaching thing's going and I'm dropping the PhD program. What were some of the little blocks you had to kind of overcome with mindset?
Just that it wouldn't work, we all have that fear of our own greatness, like who am I to do that? And what will it mean if I fail? And how will I come back from it if I do? And what will I do next? And I don't know, I eventually had to get to a place of like, there was no backup plan. This is what I was doing. Now, of course, had it fallen apart, I would have figured my life out. But like, I had to approach it that this was the thing. It was my thing. And I was going to give it my all. And I was going to decide that it would have to work. And I was going to learn as I went. And I was going to get better and better. And I was going to figure it out. And that's what I did.
You know, you sometimes I love the topic of manifestation, of course, but I love sometimes some of the small ones. Those are fun when people begin, because usually, when we're not resistant and we're just kind of in the flow and you start off small, it's like, oh, what, that showed up, because you're not like, I need that thing so bad, right? It's just like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what, I'll manifest a cup of coffee.
Let me think. What were small manifestations in the beginning? I remember when I was first, so I always understood manifestation without knowing the word for it based on like biblical teachings. Like I understood, what the Bible says, cast ye thou mountain into if someone has faith that they can cast the mountain into the sea and doesn't doubt in their heart, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, like on and on, saying that faith, like actionable faith, does things, move things. I understood that I had powers. So like I remember back in like Bible college days, there would be a shirt that I would want, and it'd be like $60, and I could not afford a $60 shirt at the time. And I would be like, God, I'm going to need this to go on sale to $19.99. And I would watch until it went on sale to $19.99, and then I'd buy it. That's like so small and silly, but it was like meaningful to me at the time. And then, I don't know, years went on, and it was like, maybe someone buys your meal and gets your coffee, and all of that's very sweet. And then when I started intentionally discovering manifestation, I remember I was reading a book and I was very into it. And it was like clicking some dots for me. And I was like randomly going to New York to see a girlfriend. And I realized that the author of the book was speaking like an hour after I landed. So I could like get off the plane and like go see her speak and like get my book signed. I remember that was like a synchronicity. Okay, life is working with me. Like, how am I going to allow life to like point me in the right direction? And yeah, I don't know. There were a lot of moments like that.
You've coached so many thousands, millions, probably at this point, people, even some people you don't
A
even
lot.
know about your courses, right? Like who just
Yeah.
have seen your work even on YouTube maybe and were affected. You've
Yeah.
gotten so much great feedback. You've obviously had some big, great successes. Give us some of your favorite 180s. I know you've had a lot with clients, but where, they may have felt like, oh, I don't know, the ones that were very
Yeah.
skeptical or very trepidatious. And then they blossomed and they're like, it's just a 180, because those always inspire everyone, out there.
I mean, so many. I can think of one that always stands out to me was Money Mentality Makeover, my main financial empowerment course for women. It's not an entrepreneurship course, it's a money course. We talk about, money and how it works and the energy of it and debt and savings and spending and just money. My book is kind of like a teaser to what all is in that course. So that course I started probably around 2014, and I would say probably around 2015, like midway through the year, a girl wrote me and she let me know that she signed up for the course while she was living in a homeless shelter, right?
Wow.
Using her tax return because she had to leave her abusive husband, but she had internet on her cell phone. She bought the course. She watched it in the homeless shelter, and she decided she set some big goals of how life was going to have to go for her and her children, what kind of job she was going to have. She later became an entrepreneur, but first, she needed a job. She had to get out of the shelter. What kind of job she was going to have, what kind of apartment she was going to live in. And she wrote me after all of that had come to fruition. And I was like, I never in a million years would have told an unhomed person to spend their money on my course, because I'm never going to like,
right.
That's someone's personal decision. I'm not going to say that to someone who's at a crux like that. I'm going to tell them to do what they have to do to feed their kid. Right. Yes. But she did it without asking anyone on my team our opinion, and then let me know after it worked out, and like, I was always like, her testimonial, I think it's still on my website, says something like my life now is a result of that course. Like Amanda was my lifeline. And that's like a testament to, you never know who's watching and listening. Like you can't know,
That's right. I spoke to a couple of people that are your fans, and one of the things they say about you is they love how you've evolved while being the same person. That's such
sweet.
A wonderful compliment. And then also a question from someone who is a fan of yours. So, I know you have a long-term romantic partner, but you used to say that you can manifest money, but you don't get right in the love department. And then you talked about how you finally got clear, and you feel like you mentioned, you got clear, you had a vibe about his presence, then you met him right. And then it was great for a while, and then it wasn't, and then you're back together. So would love to hear about that. But first, let's start with where you felt like you didn't get it right in the love department. And this is so true with lots of really amazing manifestors. You could be great in like 2, 3 areas, but like really shitty over here. And you got to like,
yeah, my whole life was thriving, but I was like not getting it together with love. It was so annoying because I was trying to apply the same thing. Okay, let me rewind. So one thing that I do really well at with money and how I teach about money is we don't like bypass. We don't spiritual bypass or emotionally bypass. Like we look at everything. We look at your pain and your past and your history and like what you were taught about money. And like we go through it. We don't avoid. And in love, I thought I had done that. You know, it's like I went to therapy for years. I had amazing coaches. I studied, like, you know, I was just like, I don't think I'm avoiding fucking anything with love. I didn't think I was, but I kept having this recurring kind of feeling in dating dynamics where I would feel abandoned when no one had abandoned me. You know, when you like barely knew the guy, hadn't gone out that much. And like, I would feel really afraid of like not being called back or really afraid of like, what does it mean if we don't go out again? It was just this abandonment issue was like coming up over and over and over and over again. And I didn't know, I wasn't trying to avoid it, but I didn't know how to look at it. I didn't know what to do with it. This goes on for literally years. And then like, once I got it together, I taught a training on it, thank God. So I can mention that more in a second, but what ended up happening, it was so bizarre, but I'll just tell it the way it happened. What ended up happening is I met my boyfriend. He chased me down the street, love at first sight. It's totally amazing. He was very, very, very newly separated, right? Like had only not been living with the woman he was with for 11 years for like 4 months or something. So he wasn't quite ready. And then I was like having this abandonment thing coming up where like, he's not ready and that's triggering me. And like, he like we're fucking in love with each other, but he's trying to like grow his independence and like get his life together. And I'm like, love me. I know you're the one. And like, I was trying to just focus on myself and do my own thing. But like, you can't if your abandonment wound is fucking things up all the time. So anyway, so eventually like we parted ways. Yes. And then mid-pandemic, he like circles back into my life. We're just being friends. We're hanging out. It's chill. But I'm like having this tendency to like want to freak out on him and be like, he wasn't doing anything. We were just friends. But even the idea of just being friends and him not wanting me, could not handle it. It was crazy. So I was like, I really have to figure this out because I can't fuck this up again. Like, I love this person. So what I did was I did what everyone says to do, which is, you know, enjoy yourself and focus on you and love yourself and nurture yourself and take care of yourself. You know, like I went on dates, so many dates with all kinds of people. And no matter how the date went, I had the best time. Like I focused on getting to know the man and his heart and what he was about instead of just checking boxes like he's not the one, he doesn't do this, doesn't do that. I would just get to know the soul of the human, go home, take a bubble bath, listen to Taylor Swift, and love the fuck out of my life. So that's one. I stopped judging men. I stopped treating them as things that were supposed to check boxes for me. And I treated them more like human beings and I enjoyed myself.
That's a great point. That's a great way to look at it. I think we are often looking at a list and we're going in with a very critical side eye, and we should be going with like, hey, let's just find out who this person in this world is.
Men are people. Did we forget? I forgot. I didn't know men were people, you know, for like 30 years. So that wasn't good. Then the other thing was this fucking abandonment wound. I decided that every time something made me feel a little sad or a little triggered or a little wounded, I was going to dive deep into the bottom of it and like cry. I would just cry and I would journal and I would be as angry as possible and as sad as possible and as irrational as possible. And which I hadn't been avoiding that stuff, but the magic in this moment was I would do all of that. And then I would like hold myself. I would take care of myself. I would be there for myself, like truly, fully, like I've got me. So then my inner child wasn't freaking out that there was any abandonment because I wasn't abandoning me. And once I had the me and me were really, really, really good. And I was really, really close to like me and my wound and my whatever. And I was just so secure and sorted. And I wasn't judging men anymore. I was giving them space to be whoever they were and just like getting to know them. When that all happened, my boyfriend and I just came together like glue, and that was it. Neither of us, you know, I didn't trigger him with all, like, it was all just finally like normal and easy. like everyone says relationships are work and blah, 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 blah. And I always hoped that wasn't true. I really always hope that when you're with your person, there's a sense of natural, like, I know I just want to be with you. That part's really figured out. And I know I'm just going to do this with you. And like, I really have that. I'm not saying that's how all relationships are meant to be, but that's what I always wanted. And that's what I have now. There's not any struggle in just our daily choosing each other at all.
Are you mentioning, were you referring to the space between when you had been brave enough to sort of be like, I'm not going to be in this, but then you guys came back together? What was that energy like? Or did you not?
What do you mean?
Did you have a lull there at all? Or was it once you met that was straight through?
Are you asking if when I did the inner work was when we were apart?
Right. I wasn't sure if that was before you even met or if you were referring to the.
No, that's when we were apart.
Yeah. Gotcha. You just got back to yourself, the original, in that time. Nice.
Yes. Well, yeah, right. While we were apart for maybe like 6 months, but when he came back into my life was when I realized I was still acting crazy. But honestly, I've spent like decades working on my money stuff and my business stuff and my belief system around like my career. It took 1 solid month of focusing on like not judging men and holding my inner child and like taking good care of me. 1 month took care of that shit. And it's not a wound in my life at all anymore.
Absolutely. And well, and you had become a pro with the back end of working that magic elsewhere. So, when you had to really go kick yourself in the ass and apply it, I'm not surprised it only took a month instead of the decades of sort of building up this intelligence that you have. What an amazing story. And also really inspiring. And this is just true with a lot of alpha women. We have a core abandonment wound. We have sort of all of these other things that can sort of get in the way. And I love that you just are open about it. And it's something we all need to deal with. It's like you see it, you kind of notice this behavior about yourself, and then you're not addressing it, and it keeps going until you just nip it.
But I thought I was addressing it. I had like 3 dating coaches who I talked to about it, but it was just different than when I finally was like, I'm fucking figuring this out. It was just different. I don't know how else to say it,
Yeah, you had to hit your own personal rock bottom within yourself to yourself. That's really great.
I created a training so I have this training called Turning Shit into Gold. It's a training I've had for years, but I add new modules to it all the time that cover new areas. So now Turning Shit into Gold, which I love, has like a 3-hour training of me walking women through this whole crazy thing we do with like judging and categorizing men and not taking good care of ourselves. And then I added another training about relationships after we had been together like a year. So just with what I had learned in that time. So anyway.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, first of all, we'll put everything in the show notes, but go to amandafrancis.com. She has trainings and courses, and they're great. And they span all sorts of cost levels, really good stuff. There's, things from, it's really, there's something there
from like
everybody.
$7 to like thousands of dollars. Yeah. There's a big range. Yeah.
It's a huge range. And then also let's talk about your book, Rich as Fuck. Cause obviously, I love that title. And that came out, in the past year, right?
It came out, I self-published, and the ebook came out in December, and then the paperback came out in January, and the audiobook comes out in like 2 weeks.
Okay. I was going to ask you about that because the audiobook is going to be amazing. Tell us a little bit about this. Is this where people really start with you? What are you getting into here that maybe you don't offer in your courses, or is it sort of a little mix of everything?
So Rich as Fuck is purely a money book. Like I said, it's not a business book. It is a money book, every aspect of money. So the way it's different from my courses is it was such a great experience to write a book. And it was so different than anything else I've done, because when I was able to sit down and write a book, so my courses I created as I learned and as I grew and as I knew more. So my courses that have been created, like I have courses on money that were created over 7 years. And as you go through the course, you like see the evolution, and I'm teaching you more as I'm learning more. And it's like, it's a whole journey and a whole experience. And I have courses that have like 30 hours of content. They're these big, all encompassing, massive things. But with a book, I was able to go like, okay, how do I take everything I've learned over like this past decade of this career, but honestly, my whole life, and how do I like walk people through it step by step, really condensed in just what they need to know. Like, how do I get this under 300 pages, just what they need to know most? So like in my courses, you get a million examples of something. You get a million explanations of me explaining it to you all kinds of ways. I hit it a million ways because I can, because I have a course, I have unlimited space. In a book, it's like there's less examples and there's less room to go into it a million different ways. But like we hit every topic, like we go through it, you know?
Right.
So
You're going to get the right framework. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great foundation. It's a lot of information. I mean, people write me every day to tell me about miracles they had from the book, but you know, a book is more limited than a course just in the nature of a book. But I still think the book is fucking vibey. I mean, it has like, I don't know, 1,500 5-star reviews. People are liking it. It's going well. We get like 100 emails a day asking for the audiobook. Like, I'm so excited to get the audiobook out.
I know, you know, it took me too long to do the audiobook. And then I'm so glad I did. And it turned out so great, but it was really the thing people kept asking for as well. And it was so funny because I almost exclusively listen to audiobooks. So it was a little bit hypocritical for me to kind of like blow the shit off for, I did like,
I know. I don't sit down and read a book hardly ever. No, of course. And it's not that I didn't want to, it's just that with self-publishing, I was learning one thing at a time.
I get it.
The ebook was the path of least resistance, you know, so got that out. Once that was out, I was like, okay, what do I need to know about paperbacks? Got that out. And then I had to continue to run my company. So it was like, I got into the studio to record the audiobook, and that's a whole new art, a whole new craft. I didn't know how to like, you know, because you did it, but like you have to read without messing up. You have to keep your like inflection and enthusiasm the way you want it to be. And eventually I got to this place where I could like be speaking one line and reading the next line. Like my brain finally understood how to record like an audiobook author, but I had never been an audio. So it's like the last chapter. I'm going so fast. I'm like fucking flying. I'm having no mess ups. I'm like, well, that's great. You know, 10 chapters.
Now you're in the zone. Well, here's the thing. What I love about what you just described is what you just described was also a very unconventional way to do something. And that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. You weren't like, I got to wait till everything's perfect and I have all three things together that I da-da-da-da-da. You're like, no, I'm putting it out now and then I'll piecemeal it the way I feel like it. And I think that's what's great about you.
I made way more money. I made because just in case this inspires anyone, I had early readers who paid, I think it was like maybe $100 or something, maybe 200. My early readers paid to get the chapters as I wrote them. So since I didn't have a traditional editor, that kept me accountable. People were waiting for the next chapter. So I had to get the book fucking done, right? So that was a godsend. But that also meant I made 6 figures on the book before the book came out. So that's better than a book advance from almost anyone, you know? So it was a money queen kind of move. And then because I self-published, all the royalties are mine. So it makes between like $10,000 and $20,000 a month. I mean, it's a good little income stream.
It's wonderful. And let's talk about that because obviously your income's amazing. Aside from talking about the principles about manifesting the things that you offer in your book and online, let's talk a little bit about, because there are a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs who listen to this conundrum. I've, had this conversation before with other coaches. Obviously you got to get to confidence and worth, but it's tough for a lot of people to think about going from sort of mainstream levels of charging, between 100 and 500, let's say, to really killing it. You know what I mean? And I even remember there were some posts when you had like your first 8K month. You're way beyond that now. So can you talk to us about like that trajectory? I love the how you write. I love the trajectory. So can you tell us about that mindset? Because I'm sure the 8K month was like, holy shit, great at the time, and now it's laughable. It's like
8,000 a month meant that I could have a 6-figure year. Now I have 7-figure months. So So let me, because this trajectory is important and the journey of it is important. So I guess the way I think about money is I think all amounts of money are available always, but we can't always wrap our mind around the bigger amounts of money, and we can't get our energy behind it. We can't believe it's possible for us. And like you mentioned, believe we're worthy of it. We have all of that going on. So I think one thing I've been really good at is I set goals that feel a little bit out of reach, that scare me a little, but that I can work on getting behind and work on believing in. So that was a $3,000 month. And like you said, an $8,000 month, and then 11, then 20, then 30, then 50. Then, I had started having my first 6-figure month. When was that? I started having 6-figure months in 2017, but then in 2018, started having multiple 6-figure months. And I just kept increasing my standard, or what in my book I call set points, like energetic minimums and maximums for the amount of money you believe you can have. So I kept increasing and increasing to, like, right now, present day, a $500,000 a month is pretty standard. Like, anything below that is like, I'm not really comfortable with. And I've gone as far as to have 7 figures in 30 days, but I'm not quite there with believing that that can be consistent. So it's like, there was a point in time where it was hard for me to believe, any number, a $3,000 a month could be consistent. Or I remember when a $50,000 a month wasn't yet consistent, but now a 7-figure month isn't yet consistent, but it feels the exact same way. The feelings and the process and the practices around these numbers haven't changed for me at all. I just play with bigger numbers as I go. And so then you mentioned about charging. Charging is one aspect of it. So it's like, I intentionally have low cost things, or I guess more medium cost, where a digital product will be, $100 or maybe $200 or $300. So, there was a point in time where that would have been too low of a price point for me because I didn't have a lot of clients. So there was a point in time where, in order to make significant increases in my money, I had to let some courses start being like over $1,000 or maybe $1,500, because I knew maybe I could get 50 people in a course, and that would be a significant amount of money for me. But then as my audience got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, I felt really called to have some lower price things, because I knew I could get 300 people in that offer, So, and then I love to have low cost stuff, like the $7 things we're talking about, just to be accessible to everyone. And I also love free content. I have free content everywhere. So price point is an interesting thing, because higher isn't better and lower isn't better, but I've been called to different things at different times. And a combination of them has been what's right for me. But then when it comes to private clients and mastermind clients, it has to cost a fucking lot, because those people get so much of your time and so much of your energy. So that's a different game, and women really struggle with that. Like, my mastermind's $11,000 a month and my private coaching is $25,000 a month. I don't accept many people into that because it's not really my income. My online education empire is my income, but I like to mentor women, but it's going to cost a lot because you get so much of my time. And that's just that.
How many can you take on in that, like with your mastermind and then private coaching? Like, what's your max with what you're willing to deal with in numbers?
I don't like to have more than 10 people ever in my mastermind. And I don't want more than like 1 or 2 private clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Because with everything else you have to do as well.
Well, it's the thing that takes the most time.
Mm-hmm.
And comparatively, when I can make 7 figures off one digital course launch, I would have to put a fuck ton of people in a mastermind to make that. So the private coaching in the mastermind has become purely out of desire and for fun. It makes money and yay, but it's not really the thing I do anymore. It's not my main thing,
Are your mastermind and your private coaching the only way to get like live personal action with you? Is that where you show up and we can be face to face with you and speak with you, or how do you gauge that?
So no, the mastermind's a group Voxer chat, and the people in my mastermind have the option of a monthly one-on-one call with me. And my private coaching is an individual Voxer chat, and they have an option of a weekly private call with me. So I still do coach people in those containers. But as far as like me teaching live, every time I update one of my courses, like say Money Mentality Makeover, say this year I decide to record a module, I think I'm on 8. So I decided to record a module 8, then all the people who sign up this year will come live to module 8. Like, everything's I've ever created has been taught live. So people in my courses still get to have me teach live, all the time. Not all the time, but it still happens.
That's great. What's next for you? What's your next big manifestation? You're just killing it. You're rolling. It keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, it's a crazy life.
What else are you wanting to? What's the next thing?
I'm going to make it. Okay, let me give you a list. I'm going to make a baby.
Yay!
Really important. I know. So I'm going to make a baby. We're looking for homes because this home that we live in Bel Air, we lease, and I just sold my house in West Hollywood. That was my last single girl house. It was decorated and arranged to be a very single girl house, and I sold it recently. So make a baby, buy a family house, get this audiobook out, I'm creating an author course to help people self-publish. So that's a thing I'm going to be doing soon. And then I'm on Selling Sunset. So
Oh, really? Like,
you can
wait,
watch
like
me on.
just on as a guest star on one of the episodes, or?
I am on at least 3 episodes, and it's me selling my house. Yeah, the one I just sold. So people can watch me on
Oh,
reality
that's fun.
television. I mean, yeah, I just, have
Right.
stuff going on all the time.
I love it. What can we leave our audience with? I mean, obviously, there's so much of your content, even for free, that really gives us a good rundown of manifesting. You know what? I guess I'll ask you this. In manifesting, as you know, it's so important to like feel the feelings of instead of just like
Uh-huh.
look at pictures of what you want. You have to kind of get into that feeling.
Uh-huh.
Can you
Yeah.
touch on that with people that are like, I'm broke right now. I want to like feel the feelings of being wealthy. I want to get into it a little bit. I want to start. I'm down here, man. How do I just turn that around a little bit?
Yeah, because it does feel, I think it feels really hard before it clicks for you. Yeah. So I'll try to make this kind of short, but it's a bit of a long explanation in my mind. So
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, back in church days when they were talking about having that faith could do things, that faith could move mountains, they were teaching this to me and I was getting it in my mind. But the part that was missing, like you said, was the energy, was the feeling, that the feelings we hold in our body, create the frequencies that are coming out from our energetic field, which creates it creates a lot of things. It creates how we move, how we act, how we be, what we believe, what we attract. It's like so major. So for me, like in the example where I'm deciding the shirt's going to go and sell, what I didn't know what was happening is that I was getting excited about the shirt going on sale. There was feeling there. It wasn't just God make the shirt go on sale. It was like, how fucking vibey is it going to be when I'm wearing this shirt tomorrow with my cute little blazer? Like it was a feeling. It was an excitement. It had a meaning to me. It mattered. So I was moving energy because of the emotion I was able to attach to it, though I didn't know how to explain that at the time. So what became frustrating to me is as I started learning about manifestation as it's taught today, like the law of attraction-y kind of manifestation, is they're constantly talking about visualization and the vision board. And I can't see shit when I close my eyes. I'm not a visualizing kind of person. So as I began to like study it and learn it and practice it for myself, I had to learn what things brought up emotions in me and for me. So for me, if I talk about something, if I journal about something, if I pray about something, like I can move emotion through words of getting excited about having the thing that is not yet mine. So I had to learn my ways to move energy, my ways to feel the feeling of already having something, my ways to become, as they say, a vibrational match for it, right? But I think everyone has to learn what that's like for them. If you can see a picture on a vision board and it moves some feelings in you, it make you excited, it make you feel like the possibilities are endless, make you feel like you're worthy, then by all means, the vision board is going to do a lot. And I still fucking like a vision board. But we have to understand why the vision board worked or why the prayer worked or why the whatever worked. It was the energy attached to it. And the way we get into energy is what we think, what we feel, what we say, what we imagine, or how we move. So some people could go into a really intense workout and jog on the treadmill and start thinking about and feeling what it's going to be like when they get their next client, and they can move some energy and have the client, be showing up 30 minutes after that training session. But like, we have to learn what it is for us that helps us do this thing we call manifesting. And usually when you explain it to people like that, they're like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life, but I do it in this area or in that area. I do it in relationships. I do it with family. I do it with health. Everyone kind of has something that they've been playing with energy with. They just didn't know it. But when you figure out how you've been doing it already, you can figure out how you're going to do it moving forward, and then that kind of opens up everything.
I love it. Yeah, it's really important to, and again, in whatever ways that generate that emotional state that comes up, like you said, whatever it is for you. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. So we'll put everything in the show notes to connect with you. AmandaFrancis.com is the place to go. You guys check out her stuff. Really inspiring. Thank you so much for just being so vulnerable, sharing everything, putting that out there to the world and helping so many people. It's really wonderful what you've done.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And for everyone else, we'll see you next time. Hey listeners, over the years a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.